And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, October 31st, the first day of the NBA Cup. It's fun to start because I almost had it yesterday, man. Very, very close in the big lotto last night. I finished 6th and 7th, along with 27th, 34th, and 86th. 5 in the top 100. Unfortunately, not first, but 6 and 7, still a really big day. Very happy to see that one. I'm going to take my AirPods out right now and hope that it doesn't ruin what I'm doing. I think we're good. I was a little nervous it was going to change my audio, which would not have been particularly fun. But yeah, I almost had it last night, man. Brandon D, I saw you were in 5th. Was there a stat correction? Well, Brandon, it appears there was. I'd rather not know that. Well, that's an extra $1,000. So, fun stuff there. Definitely would have preferred you not telling me any bit of that. I'm going to pull it up in the post-contest sims so I can show you guys what I actually had. And for the record, I had no idea any of this existed. I woke up to it. I was long asleep. So none of this was knowledge to me. So if we sort by actual... Oh, shit, there was a stat correction. I'm in 5th in our post-contest sims, so it must have happened real late. Shit. Oh, that sucks. I don't want to know that. Oh. That's not fun. I can make that a little bit bigger for everybody here. And then I'll take the actual... Actually, I don't need the sim average FP. That can go away. So yeah, the lineup that allegedly was 5th, you were actually in 3rd right as the Spurs game was ending. Yeah, that's another one I don't want to know. Yo, just tell me that it was you stat corrected from 30th to 5th. That's what I want to hear. So the lineup that finished technically 6th, but is 5th in this view: Rollins, Black, Franz, Bam, Diabate, Castle, Jimmy Butler, Wendell Carter Jr., and then the lineup that technically finished one spot behind it, but in this case 7th. Rollins and Black once again. Tristan da Silva, Bam, Miles Turner, AJ Green, Wiggins, and Wemby. So slightly different lineups there, obviously. One thing, we get a lot of questions. I see the winning lineup is a negative sim ROI lineup. How does that make any sense? Or are the sims broken, whatever? I mean, you can see the two lineups. I'm the 5 and the 7. Actually, this might help. That will help in a second when I actually pick this window. There, that's slightly easier view for right now. But the lineup that I have in 5th, sim ROI, negative 40 pre-lock. Or not pre-lock, but it's because ownership changes. This one, negative 49. You see all these top ones are negative sim ROI. That's because the sim ROI range on lineups pre-lock is negative 90 to 100, If somebody is more owned or less owned than you expected after lock, all those pre-lock assessments go away. They don't become all that valid any longer. Everything keeps changing. That's why you'll always see these sim ROIs be negative at the top. There's nothing... That doesn't mean that you should play negative lineups. If we ran a regression, or just to show the correlation between sim ROI pre-lock and sim ROI post-lock, it's not exactly going to be like extra strong, but it's going to be positive over the main sample. And that's all you could really hope for. Just to show you guys who I actually had, these were the big stands after lock and after all the swaps. 60% of Anthony Black. Actually ended up with a ton of Bobby Portis, which didn't work out great. I would have loved to have even more, even though it wasn't the best performance. I had a boatload of Wendell Carter Jr. before lock, and I was not excited about that up until 7 o'clock, or probably like 8 o'clock. That ended up paying off pretty well. He ended up salvaging, getting into the mid 30s. You guys can see on the screen, though, the thing that really saved me, I had 50% Bam. He was 15% owned. I think he ended up being either the second or third highest scorer of the day. So that was helpful. Massive stand on Ryan Rollins as well, 50% there. He was 30% owned. One of the best plays you could get to. I had more Bane than Paolo, so that start wasn't fun, especially when he had like 7 points, 6 boards, and 8 assists or something. I didn't need that kind of nonsense game from Paolo, but I also saw it coming. Big stand on Miles Turner, which worked out pretty well for me. Andrew Wiggins worked out pretty well for me. Jimmy Butler stand worked out pretty well for me. Would have liked to get to more Wemby. Obviously, I was able to swap off of all of the Giannis after he got ruled out. 2xing Castle by the time it was over was also very helpful. I had a pretty massive fade of Jaime Jaquez, which I don't regret in any way. It was just a good night. If I would have had a little bit more Paolo Banchero here, that might have actually been the answer for me if that number goes up. But ultimately, that probably ended up with me having more Bam. So don't know. What can you do? All right, I want to see if our ownership is up yet. I know we may or may not have been having a little bit of an issue. So let's see if we can get that, and then we'll start diving in and taking a look at some of the slate. 8 games, NBA Cup. Let's have some fun. All right. Looks like ownership is up. So let me grab the boom bust tool. And let's export that. Let's get started taking a look at this slate. Thank you guys for being here. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. We've got a ton of content today. We're going to be here all day breaking down every sport you could imagine. Let me hit you with that schedule right from the jump. So today, how did I lose this already? There it is. All right, I'm obviously live right now. You're going to get Spags and Greg at 10 a.m. coming up next. At 5 o'clock, so deeper dive, myself and DK. At 6, you'll get Greg and Eric. And then at 7, you will get myself and Greg on playback, doing the playback thing. All right, here we go. Let's take a look. So I've got all of our Stokastic projections pulled up. I've got everything from the boom bust pulled up. I want to look at one thing first. And this is going to be the whole slate. I'm going to take a look at just people projected for more than 15 minutes. I want to know what the leverage sitch looks like right now. So we've got this fun little graphic on the screen. I actually could probably make that 20 minutes. Forgot it's an 8-gamer. There we go. That should thin it out a bit. Not even really. So what we're looking at here, for players that are higher vertically on this chart, they are positive leverage plays. If they are lower on the chart, they are negative leverage plays. From left to right, it's low boom to high boom. So the highest boom rates are on the right. And the bigger the head is, the more they're owned right now. So right now you can see like Jarris Walker's pulling a decent amount of ownership. He's also very highly leveraged. Great boom. Lonzo, big leverage, big boom. highly owned. All these guys are pretty highly owned, but they're also positively leveraged. Colin Gillespie, Jokic, Towns, Siakam, Porzingis sneaking above the line here. Now we've got some pretty sizable negative leverage down here. And these guys are much further left on the boom rating. Josh Minot, big time negative leverage. Kawhi, DeAndre Hunter. These are some of the guys that are like breaking free below the line. But I always think it's kind of interesting to look at it like this. And we could do that by position if we wanted to. So if we wanted to look at like just the point guards for today, you see that massive positive leverage on Lonzo Ball, solid positive leverage on Gillespie, Craig Porter, Quentin Grimes, and then you've got some guys sneaking down here below the line, and then a lot of these dudes just living in the middle of nowhere. You know, just no real take type dudes. That's some of the stuff that we could look at. For now, we're going to look at game one, and we're going to move very quickly through this sort of stuff. 8 games early in the morning. You know, we don't have to reinvent the wheel here. We want to touch on all the relevant news that exists for these guys. And this first one's got a lot of news. Obviously, Trae Young is out, if you've been paying attention. He's going to be out for a bit, I think. The knee... Look, it could have been a lot worse. But it's not a great sitch right now for Trae Young. We should see Nickeil Alexander-Walker step into a bigger role here. He's already 5,700. Now, he has great positional eligibility. Point guard, small forward eligible, but 5,700 is kind of already where you need him. Projected for 8% ownership. We also have him 8% optimal. You know what? This is going to be a better view either way. Yeah, that's just better for right now. That's not better, I don't think. That's probably the one. Oh, it pinches it off too much. That's annoying. I'll work on that later. There we go. It's best we could do. So highest owned guy in this game is Indiana's Jarris Walker. We got him in for 31 minutes. He's small forward, power forward eligible, 5,500. Projected for 28% ownership. Currently, 42% optimal. That looks pretty good to me. I have no issue whatsoever getting to Jarris Walker here. I think that the role is great now. There's so many injuries on the Pacers. They're missing everybody at this point. Johnny Furphy is questionable today, so he could be working his way back. Would mildly complicate these matters, but not by a ton. But I think Walker looks good. I'm not surprised to see him be the highest owned guy, that's for sure. After that, you've got Pascal Siakam at 9,300. He's 20% owned, and I do think that's fine, but it's not my favorite play in the world today to lock in a $9,300 Pascal Siakam in game one. Porzingis being center only, like, yeah, there's some positive leverage here. And, you know, he's only 12% owned. We got him in for 27 minutes. Do I want to lock up my center spot today on Kristaps Porzingis at 7 o'clock? Not a lot. But again, that positive leverage is helpful. And I do like this spot. I mean, if we're talking about defense in this matchup, like, both of these teams are around average to slightly better. Oddly enough, the Hawks defense is probably much better now with Trae out, but their offense takes a big hit. There's not a lot that stands out here. $8,600 Jalen Johnson without Trae? No, not all that interesting. Would I say that Nickeil Alexander-Walker is still underpriced? I would not say that. No, I would not say that. There's not a lot here for me outside of Jarris Walker. I don't like Pascal Siakam nearly as much as he is owned. But I get it. He's everything to the Indiana Pacers right now. So that's not all that surprising. Second game up, Boston and Philly. Again, another game that we do have some ownership coming in. Ooh, you know what I can do? I didn't even think about this. Oh, this will be helpful. Quick little on-show production meeting. Now we're talking. Now I should be able to make that bigger. Maybe not. I just want this to look great for you guys. Let me know. So the big one here, and we touched on it when we looked at the graphic earlier, 28% ownership coming into a $4,500 Josh Minott. We got him in for 28.5 minutes, 26% boom, 16% optimal. It's a massive negative leverage play. In fact, it is the biggest negative leverage play on today's slate. By the way, Philly, 2.5-point favorites at home against Boston. I bet Boston. So let's get that out there. After Josh Minott, there is no ownership here. Neemias Queta is 8. Peyton Pritchard is 5. Everybody else doesn't exist. I gotta admit, I don't think that's all that crazy. I don't think it's crazy. I kind of like Neemias Queta, like a tiny amount as a value option. Probably don't want to lock him in. And it's not like Josh Minott looks bad, but he doesn't look 28% ownership good. At least not to me. Peyton Pritchard's fine, but like I don't want Jaylen Brown or Derek White. I don't want to play Maxey at 9,800 today. Who's that helping? Who's that helping? I don't know. $7,800 Embiid, center only. Like, you need such a specific game from him. He has to go insane in what, 20 minutes, 22 minutes, whatever. So I don't, this is a very unappealing game. And the best thing that's in this game is pretty significantly overowned. Like, Josh Minott just buried in this negative leverage corner. It's not the one today. All right, Toronto and Cleveland. Weird game. We're going to have a lot of ownership here, but there's not much that we can talk about right now. Donovan Mitchell's questionable. Jared Allen's questionable. Jakob Poeltl's already out. Sam Merrill is already out. So there's going to be a lot of ownership here, but we don't really know who it's going to be yet and why it's going to happen. Like right now, we're projecting Lonzo Ball for 45% ownership in 25 minutes. And, that makes sense. He's going to be a really nice value. But we don't totally know who's going to be on the floor for this one just yet. And I think that matters. Similarly, with no Jakob Poeltl, we have 30% ownership, 30% optimal coming into Colin Murray Boyles. He's the expected starter in Jakob Poeltl's place. In theory, they can go to Sandro Mamukelashvili, who I really like in real life, actually. So pay attention to that. Mamu is a $3,400 center, who I do think is pretty interesting as a punt play today. But Colin Murray Boyles, power forward center, 3,900. Assuming he starts, gets around 24 minutes. That's a really nice point per dollar play, and you don't have to put him in at that center spot. So he's going to be popular pretty much all day, assuming he does get that starting role. He's still interesting if he doesn't, but much, much less. But either way, we're going to have some value at the center position coming from Toronto today. Now, that we don't end here, though. Close to 30% ownership coming into Craig Porter Jr., 20 more coming into Emmanuel Quickley and DeAndre Hunter. Now, I don't want to get too crazy about some of this. The thing I want to point out is we're getting this ownership to Lonzo and Craig Porter right now, and we have Donovan Mitchell in. So these things can be more extreme if he ends up out. They could just stabilize a little bit as we get more information. But those two guys are going to be popular today pretty much no matter what, and could be extra special popular if we do lose Donovan Mitchell. There's also the possibility that we create some additional value on Cleveland if Jared Allen happens to sit, whether that's a $3,200 Larry Nance with power forward center eligibility. Evan Mobley at that point would immediately look better. Guys like Jalen Tyson and DeAndre Hunter would look better. So there's a lot to look at for Cleveland and Toronto. We don't know it all officially yet. 45% owned Lonzo, 33% owned Colin Murray Boyles, basically 30% owned Craig Porter Jr. That's where we stand for right now. I don't want to hook myself to any of this because those are just too many Q tags. Personally, I'm going to like Evan Mobley today, whether we get that news or not. I'm still willing to play the Jalen Tyson value game. And then we'll see what else pops up. Einsteinium says, it's a cup game. Do we expect more minutes for the main guys? For the most part, no. They don't seem to really care about pushing these cup games crazy until you get to game 4 and 5. If it's close, I think you can get that extra minute or two today, but they don't tend to get pushed that hard. Some team probably will more than others, but I don't think we know who that is. Mohammed says they only look good if Mitchell is out. Well, we have Mitchell in and they look good, so I would change that strategy up a bit. Knicks Bulls. So, selfishly, I have to cheer for a team I don't like all that much in the Chicago Bulls. Because I bet them to win their NBA Cup group. So, I am cheering for the Bulls. Hold on, letting the dog out. So I'm cheering for the Bulls. Came right back in. You gotta love it. There's also a lot going on here in this matchup. We've got Karl Anthony Towns projected for 30% ownership, 35% optimal. Vooch is getting close to 20. Trey Jones and Jalen Brunson are both around 13. And then scattered ownership to the rest of these guys. The big note for the New York Knicks today is that Mitchell Robinson is questionable for this one. And if the Knicks want to be any good, they need Mitchell Robinson. That's their only hope moving forward to actually having a chance. So one thing to note is that the more Towns plays with Mitchell Robinson, the worse he is as a DFS play. So I don't really want him back for that. But I do think Towns pretty clearly looks like the best option in this game, and I don't think it's close. However, I will add the caveat. I like Jalen Brunson more than the 13% ownership he is currently receiving. I am a bigger Brunson guy today than what we see there. I also think there's like a non-zero chance Kevin Huerter is like a guy I end up with 10% of, who's 2% owned. Guard forward eligibility, 4,700. You know, the type of guy that can just like make a bunch of threes and it looks better on that one individual day. But I don't know. He's grading out for me personally a little bit better than I expected. We want the answer to that Q tag for Mitchell Robinson, first and foremost. I don't have a ton of interest in Trey Jones. I don't love that he's getting any ownership. You know, part of me wants a little bit more of Matas Buzelis. I don't think he grades out very well. Ken's asking about Bridges. I mean, 2% owned, 2% optimal. I don't see anything there. 6,500? Nah. This is just not that great of a game, but I do think Towns looks awesome. He should thrive here. And it's better for Towns if Mitchell Robinson does not come back today. Okay, so that's the first 4 games down. We're off to a great start. I told you guys right out of the gate about my success yesterday in DFS. I've shown this on shows. These are all the results. See, these are some of the results that we've been tagged in so far this NBA season. Our sims are awesome, guys. You guys can get our sims if you're interested in them, and it'll cost you nothing. There's a link in the description of this video. You click it and you sign up through one of our partners, either a pick'em site or a sportsbook. If you've never signed up there before, just follow the instructions on the page that you click on from Stokastic. We have everything written out there for you. Once you're done that, you're going to get some sort of bonus from them, and you get a month of sims from us. Not only that, you can do this more than once. Each one of these sites is a unique offer. You can stack them up. So maybe you sign up for 2 sports books and a pick'em site. All of a sudden, you got 3 months of the sims. Yeah, you guys should do that. I used them all night last night, from building my lineups to late swapping my lineups after Giannis to ultimately finishing 6th and 7th last night in the main. You guys can use them too, and you can get them for free. All right, let's keep it moving. Lakers, Memphis. I basically have nothing to say about this game right now. Luka Doncic is questionable. Until we know if he's playing, nothing matters. If Luka is in, I wouldn't play anybody other than him. You cannot play Austin Reeves at 10K if Luka Doncic is in. And you shouldn't play anybody in this game otherwise. Now, if Luka is out, everything changes. We move all this stuff around and we figure it out. But the highest owned guy from Memphis right now is 1% owned. Luka and Reeves are both 5. There's no chance I'm playing Austin Reeves if Luka plays. But this game is a cross-off. No game is more guaranteed to go to overtime today than this game is right now to ruin everything. But obviously, Luka is such a big swing piece. There's nothing I can say here. Like, it's a completely different slate if he plays or doesn't play. Things like Austin Reeves becomes a much more realistic scenario. Marcus Smart changes. Rui changes. Ayton changes. Laravia changes. Everything changes. So I don't have anything else to add here for Lakers Memphis. To me, it's just not worth it right now. That game's at 9:30. We have 2 7 o'clock starts, a 7:30 and 8, and then we have an hour and a half break. So watch those first 4 games. When it hits 9 o'clock and we get our information, if we haven't had it yet, late swap into the next 4 and make it easy for yourself. Utah and Phoenix. Phoenix actually 3.5-point favorites at home in this one. It's a fun game. There's some value to be had here. 58% owned Colin Gillespie is interesting to look at here. 60% optimal as well. Royce O'Neal is the guy that I think stands out quite a bit. Small forward, power forward eligible, 5,400, 30% owned, 30% optimal. These guys just have injuries. Jalen Green is out. Dylan Brooks is out. Royce O'Neal is just going to play 30 plus minutes easy. We have him in for 35 right now. I like that salary. I like that positioning for Royce O'Neal. Just very simple value to me. I get the Colin Gillespie one. I don't love it, admittedly, but it makes perfect sense. 4,800 point guard only is mildly limiting, but from a point per dollars perspective, it doesn't get much better than this. One of the first guys you're going to put into cash lineups. I love Keontae George today at 20% ownership. Now, we have him at a little bit of a negative leverage. I'm a bigger believer in him for this one. I've got him by a little bit more than that. Point guard, shooting guard eligible, 6,900. Both of these defenses are awful. We're talking like the worst in the league type stuff. -4, -5 type guys. So offensively, you could see massive games here because neither one of these teams can stop anybody. And Dylan Brooks is your best perimeter defender. He's not defending anybody today. So I like Keontae George. I think that's too much ownership for Grayson Allen, but he is playing big minutes and he's got a good position. So I know I'll have him. I'd just rather have less. Walker Kessler's 18% owned. I think that makes a lot of sense. Mark Williams is 5% owned. I think he's probably a hair under owned, but it's just never going to feel good. And then I've liked Lauri Markkanen a lot on these past few slates at relatively low ownership. He's up to 8K now, small forward only. Still fine. Still probably underrepresented for what he can do, especially in this matchup, but starting to get to a point now where I get the ownership. Nurkic probably a little sneaky as a value punt center, but I think we could do better than that. But Colin Gillespie and Royce O'Neal are going to be the stars of this show. In particular, Gillespie. He's going to play like 28, 29 minutes, something in that neighborhood. We got 29 and a half, 13 and 6, 31 fantasy points at 4,800. That's 6.5x his salary right out of the gate. Tough to pass on that. Very tough to pass on that. Denver and Portland. Fun game. Denver 4.5 point favorites in Portland. Portland, interesting news for today. Time Lord is questionable. Love to get that guy back. Tough game to talk about right now, so we're going to talk hypotheticals. Jamal Murray is questionable for this one today. And if Jamal Murray's not playing, everything about this changes. Nikola Jokic has a wildly different rate set whether or not Jamal Murray plays. If Jamal Murray doesn't play, we then create a bunch of additional touches for Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr. undoubtedly benefits here at 3,600. We likely see guys like Jalen Pickett get into the rotation and potentially become value options. So we need to pay attention to that one because whether or not Murray plays matters. I actually don't mind Murray if he plays at 6% owned. This is a tough matchup, though. Portland's defense is exceptional. I think Denver's offense is better than Portland's defense, which is helpful. Cam Johnson, small forward only, 5,400, not owned. He's currently projected for 0.2% ownership. I'm just going to say I like him a little bit better than that. But it all comes down to Murray. Now, from the Portland side, nothing's happening here. 7% ownership to Denny Avdia, 6% ownership to Drew Holiday. It's not that appealing of a spot for the Blazers, and I'm not surprised. This is a defensive team, not an offensive team, and Well, if Drew Holiday's 7,200 now, coming off of a year where he's like 4,200 for most of the season, there's some sticker shock on that one. So if Murray's out, we're going to create more value. It's also going to create a scenario where a currently 21% owned 12K Nikola Jokic will go up quite a bit. That'll climb. One more game to touch on in our path through everything. It's the late night hammer. It's a 10:30 p.m. start. And it's the least appealing game on the slate. The New Orleans Pelicans, 12-point dogs in LA, taking on the Clippers. We don't really have any weird news for this one. It appears Bradley Beal is going to be here for this. We've got 20% ownership coming into Kawhi and negative 11 leverage. We also have him 10% optimal. Everybody else is less than 10% owned. There is some positive leverage on John Collins, but this is not a great game. 223 total is the lowest total by 8 points. It's the only game with a sub 230 total. The Clippers are much more of a defense team than an offense team. The Pelicans are much more of a no team than an anything team. This is nasty. Like, can a 2% owned Zion be interesting today? Sure. Does that seem like a necessity? No. They're stepping on Zoo's minutes right now. James Harden's old. Kawhi's old. Collins doesn't start. I don't want to have a lot of this. I just want to be in first place before this game starts so that I can pray that it's just awful. What are the chances we can get that to happen? But it's just not very good. Off topic, but the Wolves should trade for DeJounte Murray. Trell, why would they do that? That is a terrible idea. You want to take a guy who's coming off probably the worst 12 months of his career in terms of playing, and then he tore his Achilles and is still not back yet, and you want the Wolves to foot that bill? They're already a second apron team. They probably can't even do that. He makes $30 million this year. Essentially isn't going to exist. $32 million the next year. $30 million player option when he turns 31. Dude, of all the guys you could try to go out, Minnesota should not do this. They're already, I mean, $30 million? Do you realize who they'd have to trade to even make that possible? They can't take back more than they send out. So in this scenario, Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, DiVincenzo, Conley, you got to add up some of those salaries and get to north of 30 million. You're looking at like Naz Reid and Mike Conley for DeJounte Murray. Pelicans probably have to include like 2 draft picks. They're not going to do that. Yeah. No, we're gonna scrap that one. I think we're getting dangerously close to building out a starting 5. It feels like it's time to build a starting 5. That's where I'm at least. Let's start thinking about it. I'm going to take a look at the boom bust tool one more time, completely unencumbered. And I want to figure out who these 5 guys are going to be. So let's look at the whole shebang. Gillespie, LaMelo, Lonzo, Colin Murray, Boyles, Towns, Royce O'Neal. Gonna have to get some of this. I mean, based on the current leverage situation, Lonzo's going in at the point. That's number 1. And it feels like Towns is going in at the 4, which is going to be very interesting for whether or not we get to Nikola Jokic. Because it's going to come down to, like, Jokic might be what shows up after we do this. Naz Reid is not one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Huh? He makes $20 million. Mitchell, what are you talking about? All right, I like Royce O'Neal more than I should. So Royce O'Neal is going to be our small forward representative. We need a shooting guard and a center. So, because I think Gillespie's just going to show up as a value option if I don't use him. I do kind of like Keontae George, but that's just a little expensive. But if I think I'm going to have to go to Colin Murray Boyles at center, or at least in the lineup. We'll see where these guys move around to. Because if I get Colin Murray Boyles in, now we just need the shooting guard piece. I do like Keontae George. I don't, and there's nobody else that I really like. That's where the problem is. Which leads me to think that I might need to just put Gillespie in at point guard and Lonzo in at shooting guard. Yeah, I think that's going to have to be it. Lonzo goes to shooting guard. Colin Gillespie goes to point guard. And we'll get different around it. It is time for the starting 5. We need to find out what's going to go around these 5 guys. Colin Gillespie in at point guard. Lonzo Ball in at shooting guard. Royce O'Neal at small forward, Karl Anthony Towns at power forward, and thanks to no Jake Puddle, Colin Murray Boyles in at center. We have $7,800 remaining for each spot, and we got to fill out guard, forward, and utility. I think we're off to a good start. This is more salary than I was expecting. I think we'll get Jokic. After that, I'm not entirely sure what we'll end up getting. By the way, hit the like button if you haven't done it yet. Optimal lineup around my starting 5. 0 randomness. We're in the single lineup sim. I'm going to click complete this lineup to find out what we get. I'm hoping this contains Jokic. Nikola Jokic in. Jarris Walker in. Trey Jones in. We leave $100 on the table. Projected for 284 fantasy points. Total of 263% ownership. Let's see the stats now, because we want to know how good does this look. Baby. Oh, baby. I nailed it. Right out of the gate. I might shut it off right now. This is going to be a 45-second video. 112.7 sim ROI. 0.2% chance to win. 50% cash rate. The optimal lineup around my starting 5 is great. It's absolutely great. It doesn't get any better than that. How are we going to beat 112? Well, we're going to try. We're going to take Trey Jones out. We're going to take Jarris Walker out. And we're going to take Nikola Jokic out. And we're going to bump this up to 10% randomness. Now, because we have so much salary left, I think 10% randomness will give us a pretty steady mix of players because we just have easier options. So 10% randomness. Who are our new 3v3? We get to DeAndre Hunter, Pascal Siakam, James Harden. We spend all of the salary, 279 projection, 249 ownership. So if we go back and look at the first one, we gave up 5 fantasy points. We took off 14 percentage points in ownership. My guess, this one lands in like the 70s or 80s. Split the difference, I guess. 75% sim ROI, 0.2% chance to win, 43% cash rate. We went at it with a different 3v3. We end up with another excellent lineup, and this is sort of how you can build out your package of what you want to play. If you're in like a 3-max, this is a great way to start. Maybe you want to take one guy out of that starting 5 at one point. You could do that too. But to be hands-on like this, it doesn't get any better. Let's try it again, because we're going to get a different 3v3. I love this so much because I liked Jalen Brunson today. Brunson in, Grayson Allen in, Scotty Barnes in. We leave 300 on the table, and we get kind of unique because Scotty Barnes is projected for 4.5% ownership. Now, in this lineup, we are 10 points from our optimal and only 20 percentage points of ownership away. This isn't going to grade out great. It should still be in the green. My expectation is like the 40s. I was a little too optimistic. 21% sim ROI, 0.1% chance to win, 35% cash rate. It's the Scotty Barnes piece here. He's just not good enough of a point per dollar play. We would likely need to move the Brunson piece around to try to save Scotty Barnes. Let's get one more here. Final 3v3 using a starting 5 of Lonzo, Colin Murray Boyles, Colin Gillespie, Karl Anthony Towns, and Royce O'Neal. Double Collins. Gotta love it. I should get John Collins now to like really round this out. Luka Doncic shows up. Keep in mind he is questionable for today, so we don't know what this will look like. We get Grayson Allen again. We get Jarris Walker again. We spend everything. 279 projection, 260 ownership. What does Luka do for us? Luka makes it nice, everybody. 69% sim ROI, 0.3% chance to win, 42% cash rate. I'm closing it out with that one. I don't know if Luka Doncic is going to play today, but if he does, he makes a fantastic addition to the starting 5. Guys, these lineups were pretty damn good. I like these lineups. Like, there's nothing I want to change. We didn't get any names that like really make me feel gross. If I'm ever going to play anything from that Lakers-Memphis game, I'd certainly love it to be Luka Doncic. I like this quite a bit. Andrew Martinez, could you replace O'Neal with Minot and upgrade somewhere? Yeah, probably. Luke Jones, Alexander Walker today? A little bit, but nothing crazy, at least not for right now. All right, if I take one guy out of this lineup, what does my optimal be? What will my optimal be if I take out Karl Anthony Towns? I think he's going to stay, but Jokic might change it. Clear? Complete? Yeah, Towns stays. Towns stays. Not surprised. Overall optimal at Stokastic to start the day before we get out of here. Turn this one over to the NFL show. Current optimal. Craig Porter Jr., Lonzo Ball, Jarris Walker, Karl Anthony Towns, Nikola Jokic, Colin Gillespie, Royce O'Neal, Grayson Allen. 285 projection, 271 owned. I have to imagine it would be very easy to cut the ownership of this lineup. Where can I do it? All right, if I get Kristaps Porzingis into this lineup, that's probably too tough. DeAndre Hunter into this lineup makes some sense. Oh, this is interesting. Clean swap between DeAndre Hunter and Royce O'Neal. We lose 2 fantasy points, but we also drop like 11% in ownership. Same exact salary. That's an interesting swap. There's probably another one of these that we could pull off. Are we better off getting... That's not a clean swap. That's not a clean swap either. It's pretty close, though. All right, Grayson Allen out. Trey Jones in. Now we have a $700 upgrade somewhere. And I accidentally hit back. Now we have a $700 upgrade somewhere. So who's the worst value in our lineup? Shit, it's Trey Jones and DeAndre Hunter. So is it Towns? Can I upgrade Towns? Or is there anybody more expensive and higher projected than him? Yes. No, not that we can fit in our lineup, unfortunately. Jarris Walker, I guess, would be next here. Nope, he's the highest projected guy that we can get with that amount of money. Is there a spot that we can upgrade for the money? Craig Porter Jr., anywhere up to 4K on Porter Jr.? Yes. We can do this. So, Trey Jones out. Colin Murray Boyles in? Or Walter Clayton in? 279 projection, 224 ownership. Could be good. It's the final thing we're doing. Yeah, I knew it. 98.8 handing out body temperatures today. 0.3% chance to win. 42% cash rate. Mitchell, you've got it. I'll do one FanDuel lineup. We'll look at the optimal and then I'll swap it. Optimal lineup on FanDuel. Gillespie, Ball, Dyson Daniels, Grimes, Kawhi, Royce O'Neal, Karl Anthony Towns, Jarris Walker, Nikola Jokic. 326 projection, 240 ownership. Let's copy that. Let's sort by value. Who's the worst? Worst value in the lineup is Karl Anthony Towns. So that's the first spot we start. How do we make Towns better? We replace Karl Anthony Towns with John Collins. And now we have $3,400 to improve this lineup. Next worst value is Dyson Daniels, and I would love to be able to take him out of this because I don't like him. Do we have anything better than Dyson Daniels at shooting guard that can go right in? We have 9,700. Oh my God. Oh, of course we do. So Daniels is at 29% ownership. All right, realistically, what happens if I just make that swap to Booker? So now we went down 6 fantasy points, but we also cut 31% ownership from the optimal. It'll be pretty close. We're probably slightly inefficient. Yeah, not bad though. 81% sim ROI, 0.3% chance to win, 40% cash rate, and all it took was a 2v2 off of the optimal. Guys, that's going to do it for the NBA strategy show for this work week. You can find it on the podcast feed. You could also find the NFL strategy show coming up next right here. I'll be back at 5 p.m. for the NBA Deeper Dive. I dropped a thread on Twitter earlier today with every single game for the slate and some news and notes. Going to fill in some DFS stuff throughout the day for it once we get to that 1:30 injury report. So keep your eyes peeled for that as well. Thank you guys for being here. NBA-wise, I won't see you guys again until Monday, save for the deeper dive. Nothing from me on the weekend. So good luck tonight. Enjoy yourselves. I'll see you guys Monday.